Yeah, I think the last time we had a class was last year about this same time, which was on cloud computing AI. And this year we're back again with a whole new topic, a whole new technology. AI has been the buzzword, it's been all over the place, opportunities coming up in AI. You don't necessarily have to be a developer. There are a lot of career within AI. You can be AI ethics manager, you can be AI project manager, you can be AI business planner. It's just a whole lot of opportunities right now. And I think that it would be a great topic for us to discuss how we can use AI, especially generative AI, for us to be able to make our lives better, especially for those of us that work in data analytics and visualization. Now, I'm coming from a computer science background, so I've done a lot of work in terms of building applications, AI-enabled applications, data-driven software. And I know for a fact that when it comes to handling of data, it could be a bit of a heckling of a tax. And I thought, why not we can have a topic on how we can use some of these tools to make our lives better. And that's the motive behind this um, little section today. It's going to be an interactive section, and you're more than welcome to impute whatever suggestions you have. So let's just dive right into it. Like we said, AI, Gen AI, machine learning, they've been the buzzword. When you go on LinkedIn, LinkedIn has been sending a lot of posts recently that there are a lot of jobs now within the AI market in the UK. So it's tripled the amount. So it's a really great time for us to not just use AI, but pursue a career in AI in case we want to do that. So in today's session, we're going to be exploring how AI can be used to effectively handle, analyze, and visualize data. Now, this is just an introductory class, obviously, because this is limited time. But we have a whole full course, which is going to take a few weeks. So it's just an introduction. We won't be able to really delve very deep into the whole concept, but the whole idea is to introduce you and to let you know what the power of generative AI is in data handling. So first of all, we'll start with what is generative AI or Gen AI, because it's just the concept about AI could be very complex at times because there are a lot of terminologies, a lot of words. So from the word generative is something that generates, and then AI, like we know, is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is nothing but a system or an application that tries to mimic the way the humans work, the way the humans think, the way the humans would make decisions. So these artificial intelligence applications are being built on a lot of different components, which consist of large language models, foundation models, deep neural network. It's just a whole lot of things, but it's not something for you to worry about. The end product is what you should worry about, which is making use of the tools correctly and effectively for your own tasks. Now, generative AI, like can do a lot of things. It could create new text, generate images, videos, music, do create videos. In fact, there are generative AIs now that you can use to create movie, like a blockbuster Hollywood movie. All you need to do is just for you to put the script, and it's going to create the characters where you make a whole Hollywood standard movie for you. So that is where the future is going now. Whether we like it or not, AI is here to stay. When I was in the uni about 15 years ago, my tutors, they taught us a lot of things about AI facial recognition, but it wasn't a thing at the time. And I built a system that is fingerprints based for attendance monitoring and all of that. And it was really strange. I just had to do it because that was the topic that was given to me. But then now realizing 15 years later, what how that industry or how that concept has really transformed is something that is very fascinating for me. And I feel like all of us, whether we're in tech or not, should be able to make use of this technology because it's really, really amazing. And whether we like it or not, a lot of companies um, are now accepting the fact that AI, you know, helps productivity. So at the back of AI, like I said, is a lot of fine-tuned foundational model, deep learning techniques, and a whole lot of programming for the application to work properly. Like, full example of generative AIs are ChatGPT from OpenAI, which we all know, Google's Gemini, DALL-E, and a whole lot of them are examples of generative AI. Any kind of web application that you can go in there and prompt it, and it gives you reasonable information is it's a form of generative artificial intelligence. So now that brings us to the whole concept of Gen AI for business intelligence. I mean, Gen AI could be used across anything. There are agentic AI now that are being installed in cars, that are being used in our homes, smart homes, and in a whole lot of different ways. But then today we're going to be looking more on business intelligence. Just let me know if my pace is too fast or too slow so that I can really adjust. I know sometimes I can be too fast. So just let me know as a feedback. Thank you. So there's been a recent survey that IBM has done, and they discovered that about 45% of large organizations and 29% of enterprises have already integrated AI into their businesses. Now, I would say from this survey, the reason why some enterprises, I would say small enterprises, have not really been able to integrate a lot of AI is just because of maybe cost factor, because sometimes to fully integrate AI into your ecosystem might be very expensive, but it's great at the long run, but then the one-time cost of integrating it might be a bit expensive. Now, this survey also predicted that 90% of large enterprises will adopt AI soon. And that's really great because most of my consultation recently have been around financial organizations trying to see how they can use AI to automate a lot of the human activities, a lot of the human efforts that has been done. So let's say trying to check trading, trying to check balances, try to merge accounts, and a whole lot of things that requires time and human effort. They'll be looking for ways to optimize it, and it's just been a really great opportunity for them as well to be able to improve productivity and as well make more money. Now, this is obviously will help us to discover how AI can enable us to work smarter, to use actionable insights, streamline data analysis, and improve strategic decision in your job role. Now, one thing that we should have always at the back of our mind is when it comes to the use of AI, we have to always comply with the organizational policy that we work with. So if we work with an organization, we need to first seek their approval, see if they allow the use of Gen AI and to what extent it is that has been allowed. And that way, we need to be able to guide ourselves on how we use AI appropriately so that we won't incur unnecessary lawsuit onto ourselves or onto our organization. So, like I said, the outcome of this session will be being able to use generative AI to enhance business intelligence. You do not need any programming skills for you to be able to use Gen AI. All you need is the basic knowledge of BI concepts and generative AI. And by the end of this session, you will fully understand the role of generative AI in every stage of the business intelligence lifecycle, how you can use AI to improve data handling and analysis in BI, be able to leverage AI-powered tools for enhanced data visualization and reporting. So obviously, we won't be able to cover all of them, but then we would just have an introduction on how it works because of the time constraint. So we'll start with the first element, which is the synthetic data generation. Like we know, most of us that work in data, we have issues whereby we don't have enough data for us to be able to carry out our duties. Some industries particularly really lack sufficient amount of quality data. And so there are AI tools that can help us to synthetically generate data. And these AI agents or models are so smart that they are also able to check for privacy problems and be able to show that we're not using copyright data or data that is not allowed to be used for public consumption. So as a business analyst, you can leverage synthetic data to empower, your business and to be able to use data analytics regardless of the data volume. And so by doing so, you're able to improve the ability to create data, mimicking real world complexities. So what we are going to do now is just to have a look at a bit of some tools that we can use for us to be able to generate synthetic data. So synthetic data just means that they're not data from any particular source or any particular organization. The AI application basically is just going around the internet crawling, and based on the prompt or based on the information that we've given to the Gen AI, it's able to return some data for us. And it's also able to check for us to see, to ensure that the data actually has privacy and obviously the data is rich. So here are two tools that I found that are really great for synthetic data generation. You can use synthetic data generation for your practice, for your demonstration, and you can even use it for to train models if you're someone that is into machine learning. So the first one obviously is Hazy. We will have a look at how it works, and the next one is Gretu.ai. And these are all web-based. All of the tools that we're going to be discussing today are all web-based, meaning you don't need to code anything. You don't need to write a single line of code. They are all interactive web-based applications. So, and then the next thing that we'll look into, obviously, is data cleansing and anomaly detection. At the end of this theory, there's going to be a little bit of a walkthrough that we will go through in form of an exercise, and we'll be able to have a practical session to see how these tools work. Now, in terms of data cleansing, a lot of times we know that data comes not really cleansed, not structured. A lot of times, some of them are missing a lot of values. Some of them don't even have, they don't have the right data type, and it's just a lot of things for us to figure out. And in a traditional way, the BI would obviously want to have a look at the data as big as it is, and try as much as possible to figure out how they can clean this data and be able to also detect anomaly in the data in terms of duplicate, in terms of missing value, and a whole lot of that. With Power BI, we're able to scan through our document and using language, English text, English like language, like your normal language. It's called NLQ, which is natural language querying, for instance. You're able to prompt the generative AI, and you're able to ask the AI to go into your data or your file and be able to find all of the anomalies and also be able to clean your data for you. So this it will save any BI a lot of effort and a lot of time at the long run. So let's say imagine a BI working in an e-commerce company with customer sales data from across the whole UK, let's say, and data source is rife with data quality, such as missing values, like we said, duplicate and inconsistencies. Missing values mean some data points are missing, like customer ID, email address, product purchase. These are things that I know that a lot of us will relate to, especially those of us that work in BI. And it's just all of the time you have to manually go through all of this and clean it. But then now with Gen AI, you're able to simply load the data and securely perform all of these operations. Now, these are the things that you can do with Gen AI in your data. You can input missing data, you can correct formatting issues, you can identify anomaly, you can also add tags to your data, and you can classify your data based on some certain categories. So example of inconsistencies include using different data sources with inconsistent date format and spellings, like we know. Manual data cleansing methods are very tedious and time consuming. AI-powered BI tools automate repetitive tasks for BI analysts, such as populating missing values, eliminating duplicates, and transforming data to remove inconsistencies. They also have enhanced anomaly detection capabilities, making the data cleansing process more reliable. So now let's explore how generative AI handles missing data, and that is coming here. But before we go there, let me see. Also, one other thing is with the traditional BI tools, the analysts will need to always create charts and graph manually. But then there are tools, for instance, that we can use to create our visualization boards and reports and charts, which will also save us a lot of time. So The first thing we want to look at, obviously, is the data generation and cleaning. And for this particular exercise, we are going to be comparing ChatGPT and Gretel.ai for synthetic data generation. We just want to see how these two work. So I'm just going to come to my browser. I hope everyone can see my browser. So I have Gretel here, I think, and I have ChatGPT. Gretel is free. You have a free version of it. They give you some credit, so it will be good for a practice. And obviously, ChatGPT too is free. If you want the premium version, you have to pay for it. But so far, I've always used the free version, and it does a lot of my work. So first thing we need to do is, for these exercises, we want to generate a synthetic data set for customer transaction. Remember, the way you prompt a generative AI is very, very important, because how you prompt it actually determines the kind of feedback you get. So you have to be very explanatory a lot of time and specific on how you want the data to be presented to you. So in our example, it's just an example prompt that I came up with. So we need to generate a synthetic data set for customer transaction. The data set should include the following attributes. So I'll have customer ID, transaction date, and then I give it this format: transaction amount, product category, payment method. This is an example of a prompt. So let's just do it. We don't necessarily need to specify what kind of data set we want, for instance. We can if we want, but then just for the sake of this class, let's just not bother ourselves. Let's do something very basic. And let's see what this platform will give us. So I'm just going to generate that. On the side, I'm also going to come to ChatGPT and see. So ChatGPT, let me see what ChatGPT will give us. Remember, if you want to use ChatGPT, you just need to go to openai.chatgpt.com. So you can see in Gretel is giving me a really nice dashboard for all of my for the information that I actually asked. But then this is a synthetic data. We don't know where this data is coming from, but we can do a lot of things from this data for a practice purpose, for instance. But when I come to ChatGPT, ChatGPT is not giving me a really good result at the end of the day. I don't know why. And that is so because ChatGPT is not really very compatible for tabular data or image generation or media generation. It's mostly for natural language processing, which is mostly text-based. Although they're working on new versions of ChatGPT now that promises to have more features, but for now, it's mostly generative natural language processing. Like you see, it's not able to give me any good return. Let me try to tweak this and see if maybe I'll get something. Remember, how you prompt the generative AI depends. Maybe the prompt was not good enough. So let's review it. Although it's giving me a script. This is a script that I can use in Python. If anyone is familiar with Python, I can copy it and use, but we don't want to do anything coding, like I said. We just want to be able to see firsthand what this generative AI tool is able to perform. So let me see if I can tweak this. Let's say we need to generate a synthetic data for customers. So let me come here and, oh, no. I'm sorry. So let me say, I want this to be, let the result be in a tabular format. Okay, let me see if, so doesn't seem like we're getting along with that. But then with Gretel, I'm able to see file. I can download this result, for instance, if I want, if I'm happy with it. If not, I'm still able to tweak it. But then one important thing that you see is that it's helped me to create, these columns, just like I said, and it's getting this information from somewhere. Now we can do a lot more with this. This is just not the only thing we can do. If I say now generate a list of 100 transactions, each transaction should include attributes like this and format the response as a table. So we didn't specify that initially. Okay, so let's clear this out. Let me just clear it. And let me just write a new prompt and see what this is going to give us. And then with ChatGPT, we still don't have any luck with that. So just like I said, it's not very savvy in terms of anything that has to do with graphical user interface. So let's see what Greta is coming up with. So it's giving me some information, say generate a list of 100 customer transactions. Each transaction should include the following, just like it says. So it means I'm going to have 100 of these at the end of the day. So if I do that, I should have up to 100. So how do I go to the next page? Let me see how I can go to the next page. Someone help me. Maybe I don't have the right license. But we're able to generate all of this synthetic information. So the next thing that we want, let me generate this over again. Another point that we want to do is we want to be able to generate a list of 50 customer transactions, and each transaction should include the following. For instance, please include around 3 instances of missing values in transaction amount and 3 instances in product and 4 instances in duplicate. So we're trying to simulate a real life scenario whereby we have missing values, we have duplicates, and we have inconsistency in terms of payments and category. And let's see how that turns out for us, for instance. So let me generate this and see if Gretel is intelligent enough to give us any good. Okay, so it's coming up with some information. Now, missing value, you can see there's a missing value here, there's a missing value here. There are some inconsistencies in terms of the product and the category and the payment. So it means from just having a look at this, we're able to see that it makes sense, that this platform is able to get us, really good information from what we're actually asking it. And then let's say we have another prompt that say, identify all the missing values in the data set. So let me see if we're able to proceed with this prompt. So, okay. Now the thing is, good question. If I proceed like this, is it going to regenerate a new format for me? So let me save this prompt first. Okay, so let me save this, for instance. Let's say customer. Okay, that is done. And so let me see if I'm able to prompt this further. Is it able to do anything for me? Not really sure. So I want, we already created some missing values and all of that. Let's see if it's able to determine some of the missing values, for instance. So as you can see, it's replaced those missing values. I think those values were somewhere around here. I really didn't take note of them, but it's able to find it and replace it, these values for us, just using the prompt that we created. And we can also, because I'm using the free version, there's a lot of things that I'm not able to do. But then when you come here, there are a lot of opportunities for you to switch between model. Like you can use the Facebook Llama 3.1, which is trained on 8 billion character tokens. You could use the Azure GPT 3.5 Turbo, or you can use the Google Gemini. They are all generative AI models that's been trained on a huge amount of data sets from all of these great companies. Just like we know, data is very, very crucial now. All of the top big companies, they are all chasing after data because they've seen beforehand what kind of thing they can achieve with data. So they use a huge amount of data to train all of these models so that when we prompt them or when someone interacts with them is able to give them a very meaningful information, even though there's a lot of issues in terms of hallucination and falseful information, but it really happens. So on and on, we can continue to prompt this app and for it to give us information about what we want. We can use this information if we want. We can download it and we can do a lot of things with it. So another app which I know about is called Hazy. But for some reason today, when I went on the app, there's no way for me to actually get in. So I'm thinking maybe they're doing a bit of rebranding. I don't have any way to sign up, but this platform too was good. When you look at the use cases, they use for different things, or you can generate different kind of data sets or information for use. But then somehow I'm not just able to even sign in. I don't know what's wrong with them. But this used to be a very good platform. So yes, you can check them out as well and see the kind of information or the kind of help that the app might be able to render to you. Most of these apps give you free usage, so you don't have to worry. And also, if you feel like that an application is giving you really good efficiency, why not pay some certain amount just for you to ease your work, for instance. But so far, I do not have any subscription to all of these tools. They are free. I use all of the free versions of these tools. So the next thing we look at is the analysis and the SQL part of it. Just like we know, generative AI, natural language processing capabilities allow users to query data using plain English rather than technical query language. Like we know, a lot of us, especially people that are not coming from technical background, when it comes to querying with SQL, it might be a bit of a sloppy edge for some people, and sometimes it might not be really fun. So if you have data in form of, let's say, CSV, or even in form of SQL dump, you're able to, excuse me, you're able to run queries on this data without having to write a single line of SQL query. So that's the whole idea behind this. And then you can do that with a whole lot of different tools that are available out there. So the limitation to leveraging generative AI for querying documents and spreadsheets includes, the difficulty in understanding querying context, comprehensiveness of language support, dependence on data quality, and the inability to process complex query. It might be a bit of a limitation, but it's not very it's not it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day you can still tweak it for it to give you the kind of result that you want. So the first thing we want to look at, most of us are familiar is database. Like we know, database is an engine where we store relational tables or relational files, mostly in form of tables, although some of them might not be in form of table, like the non-relational database. But in recent times, most of the database that you have are in form of tables, which consist of rows and columns. And so for us to be able to get into this database in this file and be able to query it without having to use the normal SQL, that's the structured query language. There's another language which you call the natural language query, which is NLQ, and this allows users to interact with the data with using everyday language, just like we did on ChatGPT or on Gretel. All you need to do is just for you to be able to write a command, and it's able to get you the information you want. The popular command that we use in database is mostly the select, the delete, the alter table, and the drop, for instance. So most of these commands, if you want to replicate them using English-like language, you use the NLQ, which is the natural language query command, and it's just nothing but you typing in English language for you to be able to query a database or a tabular file. So let's have a use case of a simple NLQ. So let's consider David, anybody. And David is a BI analyst at an e-commerce company, and he is tasked to retrieve data, build report, and visualize insights daily. In a traditional analysis setup, we need to write a lot of queries, of course, for him to be able to create a database based on KPI, for instance, and then he's going to have them, like that until he's able to get the results that is needed. And there's always mistakes in query, like we know. Sometimes the queries, especially with SQL, you have to be accurate so that you don't retrieve the wrong information, which obviously is going to affect your analysis and result at the end of the day. Now, this obviously is tedious and time consuming. However, if David decides to use NLQ powered tools, like Power BI and a lot of other tools that we talk about, David can simply type his questions in plain English. Now, the AI engine behind the tools translate these natural language processes, connect them to database, and extract the requested data. Now, one of the tools I would explore today is called Outerbase, which also has a free version. And for this tool, would upload a sample CSV format and create a database from there, and also be able to query this table using natural language query. So let's go into it. So I have Outerbase here. So when you first sign up, I just created this base today. So, but then this is how you create a new base. A new base is nothing more than like a project, for instance. So you create a new base. If I was on the premium version, I would see CSV here, but I'm not. So I could choose to create a new SQLite base database, which is just nothing but an SQL database. For the purpose of this class, I have already created an SQLite database already, which is here in this workspace that I call Rockit-NQ, and I've created a base here already. And so what we'd be looking at is for us to be able to see if we are able to query any information at all. So I'm going to upload a sample CSV file, let's say. So I do have some sales file here. Let's say for a project, let me just pick anyone here. Let's say this one. So 538, this is lightweight. We need something lightweight because the maximum file here is 1 megabyte. So that is 538 kilobytes. So let's see how that pans out. So now you can see this has already converted all of my document into a sort of GUI format where I can actually alter a lot of things. Like you can see, these are the columns that's been retrieved from this file. Now, this file is a very bad, CSV file. It needs a lot of cleansing. But like you can see, these are the columns. Okay, these are the sample data. I think for the purpose of the free version, we're not able to change the columns easily. No, we can actually change them here. It's here. So I can change the column name. I can, because these names are really not good. They're very bad. And I can change the data type, which is a very important thing most time. You can see here, all of these data types are showing text, which is very wrong. Date should be timestamp, for instance. Okay. So again, there's no timestamp here. I think maybe just because of free version. So date and time should be timestamp, even date modified time, all of this should be timestamp. For instance, ticket ID. Okay, it could be that. Let's look at something that we could change. For instance, something that has to do with maybe numbers only. Quantity should be in numbers, so integer, let's say, because quantity is always a number. Amount as well should be integer, for instance. So you can see how easy this is. Imagine if you want to write an SQL query for this, you have to, first look at what you need to do. Then you need to be able to alter, check and alter. You can imagine how much code it is that you need, SQL code it is that you need to write for you to be able to modify all of these columns, for instance, using pandas or any kind of Python library, for instance, if you want to. So this has made your work easy. You can easily change this. You can change the column names and you can change data type, for instance. But for the purpose of this session, we're just going to leave it like that. But then you can see how easy it is for you to be able to quickly do things that will take you maybe hours in a few minutes. So what I'm just going to do now is to create a table. So you can see it's processing right here. So let's just wait for it. Again, we don't know how much time it will take, but it shouldn't take long because it's very lightweight. I think it's about 538 kilobytes of data. So yeah, let's see. It should finish soon. Says processing. So yeah, but then, okay. Yeah, I think it's done now. So this is the file that we uploaded. So you can see it has all of that. It's a whole lot of files. So it's got like thousands of entries. But then it's giving us this tabular view for us to be able to see. And then we're able to, delete it, export it, and do everything. But the most important thing is that we're able to query this data. Now, if you want to have a look at this data, for instance, you have to go through all of these slides, okay, which is a whole lot. This is from, this file has, I don't know, thousands of, it's just a whole lot of sales data. Because this data is coming from some e-commerce shop, POS, and a whole lot of things. So it's a whole lot of data. So you can imagine having to go through all of this manually to check and be able to, writing, let's say, Panda scripts, if you're familiar with Python. If you don't want to go through all of that, why not just use the natural language query for you to be able to quickly do something, especially if it's a job that requires you to not spend a lot of time on it. So based on the columns we have here, for instance, let's see if we are able to query, a certain thing, for instance. So you can see we have a lot of columns, we have dates and all of that. So let's look for a meaningful query for us that we want to make, for instance. So let me just scroll through this document, this table and see. So can I say, so we have product, customer name, DOB, gender, address, zip code. So if I ask someone now if I ask someone now to tell me best selling brand or the highest selling brand, there's no way you can say this off the bat. But let's try and see. Let's try a look and see. So click here. This is where the interactive section comes. So let me say I want to ask, retrieve the highest sold brand. Let's try a look. Let's see what's going to happen. It will take some time because it's actually trying to retrieve it. You can see. So it said this query retrieved the brand with the highest total quantity sold from the sales data in this table. Now it says the brand is Dragonfly, and this is the total amount that has been sold, 731. Now, if we're meant to do this manually, are we going to start going through each of these files to see how much was sold, for instance? This is just a whole lot of work for us to do. This has made your life or the life of any BA or BI very, very easy. So if we look, we can't even look because this spreadsheet is a whole lot. So there's no way for us to say let's try to calculate, if this is true or if this is not. So, but one thing we could do is maybe try to narrow down, because this is coming from August, 1st of August to, let's say, 1st of August to, I don't know, this is the 4th of August. Again, let me just go back because it's a lot of data. See if there's any way we could confirm the information that we got from here. And also, let's try to view the query. So this is the query that you're meant to write normally. So select brand, some quantity, taking the sum of all of the quantity as total sold, and then load up this table, and then you need to group it by brand, and then order it by total sold to the description. So this is what you're going to write normally. Again, you need to know how all of these commands work in SQL. But then this has made your life easy. And this is sort of a kind of reverse engineering and learning process for anyone. In case you're not familiar, you can easily know, say, this is what I need, copy it, put it in your knowledge base or put it in your work resources. Anytime you need it, you know that, okay, this is what you need to do in case you want to impress the management or you want to impress your manager that you're good with SQL. You already have, the script that you would use to query the data. So how can I go back to my, I need to go back to my table. I don't know. Let me just click it. Okay, so this is one way for us to be able to, query data to give us a really good, information on the fly as to what we need instead of having to waste time or cracking our head to be able to return information. There's a lot of other things we could do in terms of data visualization, analysis, and all of that. But for the sake of this class, obviously our time is almost up. I would just round up a little bit. We'll give time for questions and discussions from everyone. So thank you. Let me know if it was a bit informative. I wasn't very organized and prepared. It's just work is busy, but I hope we're able to gain one or two, knowledge from this whole information. And just like we know, we as professionals, it's always good for us to go out there, make our own research, learn more. The most important thing is for us to be able to have an insight, an eye opener for us to be able to delve in there, do more research, improve on it. And so we could be, we could stay on top of our, professional game and career. Thank you, everyone. So I'll stop sharing for now.
Thank you very much. That was a banger.
Yes, sir.
So, is there anyone that has any question? Or wow, that was very insightful, I must say.
Thank you, sir. Even though I was not very, my presentations normally are very long, very in-depth, but for the sake of this, it could be a lot shorter because of time.
Thank you very much. Boss, thank you, Tolu, for inviting me. And thank you, Mr. Yusuf. I think contrary to what you think, this was a very good taster. If it was too in-depth for the beginning now, it would have been a lot. And I'm fighting for part 2 of this series. Thank you.
I was about to say
Thank you
that as well.
Thank you for the feedback.
You took it from my mouth.
That's great. Thank you for the feedback. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. I will call this ABC of data analysis.
Yeah.
For
Indeed.
someone who has done a lot of data analysis, we broke it down to the tiniest bits for a novice to understand. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abahami. I appreciate the feedback.